Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the CrossFit Games Update Show. I'm Sean Woodland with Annie Sakamoto and Tommy Marquez, and we are just mere days away from the start of the 2017 Reebok CrossFit Games season. We're going to spend this week setting the table and getting you ready for all the big stories that will be playing out throughout 2017. Today, we look at the women's side of things. We had the same top four finishers in 2016 as we had in 2015, so it looks like we could have another extremely competitive year for the women here in 2017.
For me, 2017 consists of three words: Tia, Claire, Toomey. My eyes are on her. I will not be caught not watching her right from the beginning this year.
I just think the women's competition in general is just going to be a war. I think it's going to be World War III in Madison here this year. You've got Sarah and Katrin, two Icelandic women. You've got Tia and Cara coming out of Australia, rapidly improving Americans in Kari Pierce and Brooke Wells. Then you throw in the British brawler, as I'm going to call her, Sam Briggs, coming over. And then you still have a couple of past champs in Camille and Annie that can make some noise. It's just going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Well, so far this year, the biggest story has been one that we got to break on the game site, and that is that Sarah Sigmundsdottir is moving from Europe to Southern California. Before we talk about where she's going, let's look at where she's been. She was dominant at the Meridian Regional over the past 2 years, only finishing outside the top 5 once in 14 events there. And I'm sure right now that there's this big sigh of relief coming from everyone who's trying to get into the Meridian Regional. Who does this benefit the most over there?
Well, Sarah leaving opens up a spot for what I think is going to be a couple of newcomers on the individual side in Europe. One being Julie Abelgard. She competed on a team at the Games for Team CrossFit Copenhagen / CrossFit Nordvest. She was third in the Open in Europe. She was 15th worldwide in the Open on the women's side, so very talented. And then you have an athlete like Jamie Green, who is at a CrossFit YAS or CrossFit YAS. They competed at the Games. They finished on the podium. You can basically look at last season as an opportunity for her to kind of check off all of the boxes in the Affiliate Cup competition after winning the Open as an individual. And I think now is the opportune time for her to kind of step over to this side of the competition and try and make the Games.
While some female competitors may be breathing a little more easily over in the Meridian Regional, I'm sure there's much distress and gnashing of teeth out here in California. This was already a competitive regional for the women, and now it gets that much tougher.
Definitely. I think when you look at the California region, it's one of the toughest regions for the ladies to qualify in. And proof of that to me is looking at last year's leaderboard. Brooke Entz finished in 6th place and didn't make it to the Games after having a stellar 2015 career, making 14th place at the Games, 2 first-place finishes. So to me, Sarah moving into the region really just means that there's only 4 spots open in the California regional now.
And Becca Voigt stands out on this list. Obviously, she's a very accomplished individual athlete, but because of her age, you might think, okay, she's going to be the odd woman out here, but can she still make it to her 10th Games as an individual? She could very well go as a master, but I think she would love to go 10 times as an individual.
I agree. I think Becca has the full potential to qualify for her 10th Games career. We've seen her, she was 2nd place last year in the regional. I don't think there's ever been an event that tripped up Becca at the regionals. So I think she's going to go for number 10.
Katrin Davidsdottir was a woman who switched regions last year. Just talked about Sarah Sigmundsdottir. She went from Meridian to the Northeast. She won her 2nd straight CrossFit Games championship. Now she goes for the elusive three-peat. Annie Thorisdottir thought she might be able to get there in 2013, but that got derailed by injury. But now can Katrin succeed where Annie failed?
Well, even given the fact that Katrin has basically improved in every measurable statistic from one year to the next, winning both times, it's going to be tough. I mean, if we're in Vegas and we're at the sports book, you know, smart money's on her. She's the odds-on favorite. But as I mentioned before, the competition is just so stacked. And now you throw in a new venue, a new location that's unfamiliar to everybody, kind of a big question mark. It's going to be tough. I just think repeating and winning this 3rd time, given all of that, is kind of like walking through a minefield blindfolded and just expecting not to hit anything. So.
Yeah, Katrin's the champ, but I don't know if there's as big of a gap between Katrin and the women behind her. And when you look at the women who finished immediately behind her at the Games, you know, all are contenders to possibly win. And I think most importantly, all of them got better. They not only improved their top 10 finishes last year at the Games, but they also eliminated some of those bottom 20 finishes that tend to keep you off of the podium. but each one of these ladies could give her a run for the money this year.
Definitely, and again, to me, the first name that jumps out is Tia Toomey. She is so consistently consistent. She was the only lady in the top 5 at the games last year that was not capped on one workout. And this was all in the face of going to the Olympics, a week and a half, 2 weeks later. So to think of what her potential would be this year without the Olympics looming in the foreground. And then the other person obviously would be Sarah. She's changing regions this year. She's changing coaches. What that means for her performance at the games, I don't know, but what we do know is she attacks these workouts with a viciousness and a reckless abandon that I don't think anybody else can compare to.
And we mentioned the 4 that immediately finished right behind Katrin Davidsdottir. That doesn't include the 3 former champions who are, presumably are still in the field, and that's Annie Thorisdottir, Sam Briggs, and Camila Blanc-Bazinet. Now, of those 3, who do you think has the best chance to not only maybe get herself back on the podium, but possibly win it all again?
Well, for me, it's Sam Briggs. Obviously, finishing 4th in back-to-back years means you're just on the cusp of the podium, but it's even more impressive given the fact that she did not have a clean run-up or hiccup-free run-up to the games in both of those years. In 2015, she had a broken foot, which we only found out later after the regional. In 2016, she had visa issues where we weren't sure if she was going to come to the country or not. Last minute, she gets a flight, basically a red eye to the competition, and shows up competing without any lead-up or preparation in the United States. And also consider that she's won at least 2 events at the last 4 CrossFit Games she's been at. So at this new venue, if she makes it, she's going to win a couple of events, and that's going to give her a shot.
I'm going to put a vote in for Annie T. She is the only other 2-time female champion. She was out in 2013 with a hurt back, but she came back in 2014 and took 2nd place. She unfortunately had to withdraw in 2015, but then came back again in last year in 2016, got 13th place, seemed to have a very healthy game season last year, and looks to have a very healthy training season leading up to this year.
And of course, before you can make it to the games or the regionals, you have to get through the Open, and that starts this Thursday. I can't even believe that we are here again. 17.1 will be announced live this Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific time from Montreal. We'll also have coverage from Paris. Dave Castro will be there. We will have the announcement. We'll have a live pre-announcement show. You'll have the cool-down show presented by Arasti. And then, this is going to be great, Roe versus Boz will be on Facebook Live, but we're going to have full coverage. We'll have play-by-play and color commentary. We might have some guests stopping by. Roe versus Boz is getting kicked up a notch this season, and we certainly can't wait to watch that. That is going to do it for us for today. For Annie Sakamoto and Tommy Marquez, I'm Sean Woodland. We'll be back tomorrow to take a look at the top stories from the men's side of things for 2017.